which one of us will do the introduction.
Alrighty. Hello and welcome to the Irongeek cast, number 208. Bayonets and some other shit. I don't know. Adrian made the title, but T-Maker has pointed out that it should have been Clouds on Fire, and I totally agree with him, because that would have been an excellent title. Maybe we'll retroactively retcon our title and just not tell people. We'll see.
I just been collecting a lot of Bayonets recently. Like my M9 came in. It's a kind of cheapy M9. I got an I have a AKM, I think Type 1 coming in with my AK-47. So we'll see how things go. I'm just attaching bayonets to everything in my house.
You can do that. I mean, it might be a little difficult if you attach a bayonet to your bed, but, whatever gets you off, Adrian.
Depends on where I connect it.
Exactly. So, we got a lot of shit to talk about in today's cast. As you all probably know, one of OVH's data centers burned down last night. It was all over Twitter. There were some great tweets about it. People were sharing little screenshots of their internal monitoring software showing how healthy their servers were. And despite the building being on fire, it was telling them that there were no problems in the building, which was pretty funny. It reminds me of that cartoon with the dog sitting in the house that's on fire saying this is fine.
Yeah, I checked it this morning after I read the reports. Like, so this happened like around 1 a.m. Central Time. It started. I checked like 10 a.m. It was still showing green.
Wow. I mean, it's a bit strange, but yeah, we got a bunch of other stories to cover today as well. We'll be talking about how some company that does like the security cameras for a bunch of high profile businesses, including Tesla, decided to leave default creds on their cams. We've got the Exchange servers getting pwned everywhere, and the Silver Sparrow Mac malware to talk about, and about 15 other articles that we can all talk about. I really don't see this show going more than like an hour tonight. We don't have like a crap ton of stuff, but we do have a decent amount of little material to cover. So, and with that, I think I should start sharing the show notes, but I've got too many tabs open, so I got to close some stuff first. So you know what happens when you have too many tabs open and you start sharing stuff? You get messages from people who don't like you telling you that you shared things you shouldn't have, and now they're gonna fuck with you. So
don't share your porn.
I will share my porn. I'll even put it on my Plex server if you want it. And I'm one of those weirdos who actually downloads their porn.
Weird flex, but okay.
Exactly. I'll share all my porn with you if you want. I like my weird flexes. It's what I got. Oh, look, Barry's devices are not connected. Barry, connect your devices, man. We can't hear you if you don't connect them. That's just sad, Barry. Barry, I'm disappointed in you. And you're a techie. You should know better. All right. So let's see how we do this here. We got the little button here that says share. And I'm going to click screen share. And I'm going to share that. And boom. There we go. We're in business. I'm just going to make that a little bigger for the folks at home. Right. Okay. Oh, look, Barry is back in business. And I'm back to the stream.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Barry.
Well, I moved the microphone slightly. The USB connection is not the greatest. It's a USB-A connection.
Oh. Well, I mean, that's like the default USB that everything uses, so I'm not surprised.
Well, I do unplug the microphone and move it around, and that's, it has a nice long cable, but when I switch to the other computer, it'll be shorter, or it'll be more stable.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with the story about OVH's SBG2 burning down, which is just...
I'm not exactly sure what that is. It's...
So OVH, they run data centers, right? And this is one of their European data centers that's over in Strasbourg, France. And it was destroyed by a fire last night. Like, it was about 2:00 Eastern Standard Time that I started seeing tweets about it. So I imagine it probably started a little bit earlier than that. They started out by saying we are currently facing a major incident in one of our data centers in Strasbourg with a fire declared in building SBG2. Firefighters were immediately on scene but could not control the fire. The entire site has been isolated, which impacts our services, yada, yada, yada. And they recommend that people implement a disaster recovery plan. Now, somebody retweeted, and this guy was definitely like a systems administrator, right? And he retweeted asking them about how he can implement their data recovery plan, not realizing that as a sysadmin, he's supposed to have his own data recovery plan. It's not provided to you by a data center, which was pretty hilarious. Because when you looked into the guy's background, he was definitely not trolling. He just did not understand a very basic concept about sysadmin shit. So following that, other data centers started disappearing from their list as well. Yeah. A lot of sites were knocked offline because of this,
Usually a data center provider or cloud provider like that has multiple sites. So, whenever there's a problem happen, they have their own disaster recovery plan where they start migrating information to a backup site.
So here, your voice, for some reason, is reminding me of this video right here. This dude.
Don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. That's
my voice now.
That's not. I'm not.
Yeah. I think there's a very similar tonal inflection between your two voices.
I can see that.
All right.
Could lead to
I am not a cat guy. You sound a lot like him.
Okay.
You do. You have like the same voice. It's really creepy.
I was looking at the cat. Well, don't worry. Nobody's going to prison for being a cat lawyer. The judge released the video.
It's the fancy microphone. I guess I need to get Voice Meter up and running and really do some fun stuff.
That was great. I'm not a cat.
I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I love that shit. I'm sorry, it just amuses me. All right, so OVH had one of their data centers burned down, right? It affected a bunch of sites that were hosting shit there. Obviously, hopefully they have backups, right? And hopefully the backups are in a different data center and they follow the 3-2-1 rule, all that fun shit. But if not, I'm sure they'll get backup eventually. The next story we've got, which is a really good one. So some cameras with default creds allowed access into Tesla and a bunch of banks in what is being called Operation Panopticon by a group of hackers calling themselves Just for Fun, which I guess is kind of like a take on LulzSec, just for fun. Yeah, whatever. Maybe. Who knows? But this is a California-based management security company. So essentially they manage like the cameras for a bunch of other places, They were hacked. And somebody gained access to a live feed of over 100,000 cameras in all different kinds of places, in police stations, jails, schools, hospitals, Tesla, inside the company itself, and Cloudflare. Like cameras everywhere.
Oh, it's Verkada. We almost got those.
Yeah. So Verkada is the company. So hackers were able to gain access to these due to some credentials that were put in a development environment online. And my money is that they just had an open GitHub and that they had published the creds for their cameras in like a firmware update and then put like the source code for the firmware update on their GitHub. But they don't say that specifically in the article. It says they used a super admin account that was hard coded, right? So I'm thinking as a super admin, it's probably just a root account and they don't want to say root because most non-Windows users don't know most Windows users don't know that root means super admin in like Linux land. So, they'd be confused if it said a root account. So they went with a super admin in the article, right? Not the most technical article, but Bleeping Computer actually takes it a little bit further. Now everyone knows I use Kaspersky. Great. So multiple cameras. They called it Operation Panopticon, right? The reason being behind that is because Panopticon refers to a design of such a building in which captives cannot tell whether they're being observed or not by security personnel at any given moment, which is actually a pretty good name for when you take over a bunch of IP cameras. They weren't specifically targeting any one of these companies. It was an IP camera vendor, and they were using default creds on everything. These default creds were hard coded and put into some kind of development environment that was shared, right? And some hackers figured it out. Not super hard if you have access to like their GitHub, right? And then they post it there. So in order to kind of like draw attention to this, I guess responsible disclosure was not the way they decided to go. And they're like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to like record a whole bunch of these live streams and publish them somewhere so everyone can see all this shit. And they did. So Believing Computer reached out to Tesla, Equinox, and a bunch of the other targets and are awaiting response. Some places have gotten back to them, and they're like, hey, you know, because everyone's working from home, it doesn't really matter if someone's looking at our cameras in the office. But what are you going to do, right? That's how the cookie crumbles. And they got pwned, and everyone gets pwned. Speaking of getting pwned, if you have an Exchange server and you've been living under a rock, right, you should probably... Oh, got that fucking... Why do I not turn things off when I'm doing this? All right. 1 second. Oh, add Barry back to the stream again and reshare the screen. All right. Okay. So, Exchange server attacks, right? This is a little article I wrote up for work that I just kind of stole and brought into our cast here. So, if you're running an on-prem Exchange server, you need to patch it. That's the whole takeaway of this, right? You not only need to patch it, but you also need to look on it and make sure there are no web shells on there, because it's very likely there are. Pretty much anybody who's running Exchange, and even if they're patched up to like late February, they're probably pwned at this point. There's a massive campaign being undertaken by a Chinese apps group, and they're going after all these Exchange servers that are open. And essentially, if you have port 443 open and you're allowing users to log in and check their webmail over OWA, which a lot of setups do by default when you configure an Exchange server, bad news is the thing. That's the high and low of it. Is go fix your shit, because you're probably hacked. It's taking advantage of like 4 different exploits here, right? We got all these different CVEs right here. You can see them in the show notes, and this article is linked in the show notes if you want to take a look at it, right? Hafnium is the name of the hacking group that's behind a lot of these hacks, but that doesn't mean they're the only ones who are taking advantage of these exploits. And they're uploading web shells. And once they have a web shell, they can, steal your data, upload files, execute any kind of command on the computer. If it's on the same network as the rest of your shit, they're going to use it to hop onto that network and try and steal other shit, right? They're dumping creds, they're dumping LSAS, all that shit that you'd expect hackers to do once they get into your network. So TLDR, fix your shit if you're running an Exchange server in the cloud. What else we got? So experts in this security community believe the initial estimate of 30,000 servers being compromised is low. Mass exploitation has been occurring for over 8 days. If you have an externally facing OWA server, consider yourself compromised and enact IR. The patch fixes the vulnerability, but not the access already established. That means you need to do some DFIR work. You need to find if you have a web shell. In order to find if you've got like a web shell, I have put together a list of some tools for detection, as well as a pretty foolproof way to just figure it out using just like, Windows command prompt. See, do these things exist right here, right? Do you have these? If you have these, you're probably popped, right? Moving further, we also have Microsoft's security scanner standalone tool has been updated to help look for the web shells that are being uploaded in this attack. And CERT Latvia has released a PowerShell script you can use to scan for web shells as well. There's also a PowerShell script you can use to search for other indicators of compromise, as well as go through your Exchange log, because we all know none of you are actually doing that. And there is a script as well that's available to analyze Exchange server files and then compare their hashes with known good hashes to make sure that files have not been overwritten, and that's available there. So tons of good shit and resources for you. If you are an Exchange admin right now, you're probably not having a good time. Oh, where'd that come from? All right. Somebody already put up a tutorial this first thing I saw this morning. Well, that's great, Dickie, but this is my tutorial and I made it. I made this. So yeah. Hey, look, it's Bill Gardner. Hi, Bill Gardner. We love you. You should come on the cast sometime and talk. All right. Next, we have the Silver Sparrow Mac malware. So this started up as a write-up one of my coworkers did, but it really wasn't that good, so I just rewrote the whole damn thing. All right. Silver Sparrow. I love when they give exploits cool names. Like this sounds like some Russian sleeper agent. It's the Silver Sparrow. They've come to steal your data. But this is Mac malware, right? And as everybody says, Macs don't get malware. What are you talking about? But this is Mac malware. This targets MacBooks, but not just any MacBooks. It targets both the old ones and the new ones using those M1 chips. The M1 chips being those weird freaking chips they're using now that nobody likes. They are really power efficient though. Like they last a long time on a very little battery. So far, over 30,000 machines are installed with this malware that they know of. There's probably a lot more. These are just the ones they're able to observe some C2 DNS queries passively with. So there's probably a lot more out there. Luckily, you know how some malware does it in stages? So you have like the initial loader that'll stay on the computer, and then it'll check for the C2. And then when it hits the C2, when it says so, it'll pull down like a second stage payload that can do other things. Well, it seems most of the machines that have this just have that first stage payload at this point. They don't have like the second stage. So it's not doing anything other than checking to the C2 server and asking for instructions, which is not terrible, but could be very, very bad depending on what they decide to do. Because if as bad guys, you know, they can do whatever the fuck they want. So they can be like, hey, let's just exfiltrate all the credentials and data from all these people. We've already got shells on their systems, right? Or they could do even worse stuff. You know, they could do like a botnet or, you know, a major DDoS or who knows. You know, if you got a lot of machines you control, there's lots of fun things you can do as a bad guy. So it is clearly a threat, right? Apple, trying to mitigate this, decided to revoke the CSR that is used to sign this software when it's being installed. However, they have come up with ways around that and are still able to install it. As they do, because it's like a cat and mouse game, an ever evolving cat and mouse game between the malware developers and those developing protections against them. Dickie is like AWS ? Sure. I don't. What are you talking about, Dickie? AWS. Nobody's talking about AWS right now. We're talking about Mac malware. Anyway, there's a good technical breakdown I put together in this. It talks about the little differences between two versions of the software. It does exist in two binaries, and it does actually, yes. All right, Dickie. I see what you're getting at. You read ahead, you bastard. So it does use AWS and Akamai content distribution network for its command and control to obfuscate it, right? So yes, Dickie, AWS. If the user accepts, right, the initial install prompt, it's going to run some JavaScript that's going to pull down a bash file that's going to continue the installation. Look, there's two different versions of this also, one targeting each architecture. But they are in like the same install package. It just can install on both. So Dickie. I got some indicators to compromise here. You know, you can take a look at those things if you want to. We got some file hashes here of the payload, you know, and I got a bunch of references if you want to look at it and like research more, you know. That's what you do. That was the wrong button. All right.
I thought,
I hit
was
the
it
wrong
just
button.
me? No, I did replace the cable.
Good. I'm glad you replaced the cable. Was reading what Red Canary posted. Yes, Red Canary did post some good shit. All right. I actually referenced Red Canary in my write-up somewhere. I know I did. It was maybe where is that in this one? No, there's the other one. Yep, I did. Malwarebytes worked with Red Canary. There we go. Yeah, I did reference that whole thing. So the TLDR is because they worked with Malwarebytes. You don't have to go through the whole extensive removal process. If you find this, you can just download Malwarebytes and then run it, and it'll get rid of it for you. But then you gotta uninstall Malwarebytes, and because then you don't want to have to pay for it after 30 days, right? Unless you do. I mean, it is a good program, but I like that when it was really free instead of freemium. All right, nothing is free forever. What else do we got? We've got other things. Why is this go away? All right, talked about these things. Oh nope. All right, Silver Sparrow. Nope. Show notes. That's where we're at. All right. Apple device location tracking system could expose user identities. We wouldn't want that. That's should still be up there. All right. So researchers have identified 2 vulnerabilities in the company's crowdsourced offline finding technology that could jeopardize the promise of privacy. So 2 vulnerabilities in crowdsourced location tracking system that helps users find Apple devices even when they're offline could expose the identity of users. Offline Finding, a proprietary app introduced by Apple in 2019 for its iOS and Mac OS and Watch OS platforms, enables the location of Apple devices even if they aren't connected to the internet, which in and of itself is not unique for this company, but they promise the technology could conduct its task in a way that preserves users' privacy. Well, for the most part, this technology lives up to its privacy goals. It does have flaws that can lead to a location correlation attack and unauthorized access of the location history for the past several days, which could be used to de-anonymize users. So in other words, they can track you even when your phone's off. Imagine that. What else do we got? Oh, so it's using some of the BLE shit, right? Bluetooth Low Energy. They're doing a meshy thing. Cool. So you know how there's a lot of people who have Mac phones and stuff everywhere? If your device is off, apparently it's still emitting some BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy stuff. And other people who've got Apple devices who are walking around, their shit's just like, hey, spitting stuff up to Apple without them even knowing about it. And it can be like, hey, I see this other guy's device that's turned off. This is where it's at. And then when the person's like, hey, where's my phone? They're like, hey, that's where that guy's phone is. BLE. There's fun stuff you can do with BLE hacking too. If you get bored, some fun programs you can just throw on your phone, and then you look around. And you'd be surprised. You probably got a whole bunch of BLE stuff around you, and you don't even know it. All right. Loss of anonymity. Words hard. Next, we have an integer buffer overflow in Nginx web server that's being used for ExpressVPN routers. So this is not all versions of Nginx, but only the version that is on people who have these little travel routers that are being used for VPN, right? Still not good. Not like the worst vulnerability in the world, but with a buffer overflow, you can usually get like RCE and stuff. So update the firmware if you've got one of those. Next, your remote employees may be sharing sensitive data. Well, they probably are sharing sensitive data, and they probably don't care either. The shift to remote work means many organizations are more reliant than ever on messaging apps and correlation tools. For instance, if you work in a small team, you're probably using something like Microsoft Teams to keep in touch with the rest of your coworkers. But this reliance also carries risks, especially when it comes to dealing with business data. A report released Wednesday by Veritas, not Project Veritas, revealed how many employees are sharing company data while working remotely and offers advice on how businesses can rein in control of that data. So Veritas polled over 12,000 office workers in 10 countries. 71% admitted to sharing sensitive and business critical company data using messaging and collaboration tools. 58% said they save their own copies of business data shared via messaging, and 51% delete that information entirely. So you can go through all this trouble and lock down a laptop, and then you give them access to it on their home machine, and you do that whole BYOB thing, and before you know it, all your stuff is everywhere.
That sounds like a management problem, not a team's problem or something like that. I mean,
so it's not specific. It is a management problem, but it's also kind of a workflow problem. And
I mean, if they're working from home, it should be like they're working in their office. Okay, they're going to have access to the same data. It's just they're at home. So who's passing the data along? That's what the Teams and this Slack and these other collaboration groupware software is supposed to do. It's supposed to have you share the data. It's a SharePoint.
I agree.
And
the problem is if somebody's working from home, right? Their computer is not likely going to be as locked down or secure as a computer that's given to them by the company.
Okay, so I mean,
and if they're sharing all that, if they're saving all that company data to their home computer, right? What's to stop them if they just leave the company from keeping that data or giving it to a competitor?
Well, they're probably supposed to keep it on OneDrive or a cloud-based storage. I mean, that's the standard practice.
It may be the standard practice, but it's certainly not how most users work.
Well, that's a administrator problem.
Right, but it's one that needs to be solved. It's not just an administrator problem. It's an administrator problem that, look, like when I initially started doing BYOD back in the day, back when we had Blackberries, right? We had the ability to remote wipe a mailbox, and we didn't have to worry that they'd have a whole shit ton of company data on like a laptop that we gave them, because that wasn't really a thing yet back then. But now, even if you give them a company laptop, right, you should have like the ability to do some kind of MDM with it. So you can remote wipe it if they quit, you can do shit like that. But if they're working on their own computer, there's only so much you can do to limit the amount of information they're able to pull down from corporate resources and put on their own computer. And that's an issue that kind of needs to be addressed. And I don't think anybody really is addressing it. And it's just kind of,
Well,
unless you do some kind of VDI thing and really like lock it down, which some companies do.
Well, VDI is good. Issuing a company laptop is good. It doesn't, there's a bunch of things. I mean, I believe that the companies, if they expect their employees to use their phone, they need to issue a phone.
Yep.
I mean, that should be just part of the deal. Yeah. So the employee has to carry on 2 phones. Well, tough luck. But
Agreed.
VDI and thin clients is fine. I mean, they should be using that.
They should, but not a lot of places are. And even the places that are using it, there are ways to still exfiltrate data through a VDI, especially if you're just using regular Windows RDP, because then you can just, unless you lock it down, you can then just drag and drop files from RDP to your regular desktop, So things need to be locked down is all I'm saying. And that's pretty much the article saying too, I think. Next, we've got a call recorder iPhone app that is very, very popular in the App Store, used by a lot of people. Well, it has a feature, and it will record your stuff directly to the cloud for you so you can save it for later. But then they didn't secure those cloud recordings very well. They kind of left them in like an S3 bucket and didn't put a password on it, right? Some guys were just using Burp Suite, screwing around on the site, and they figured out that they could get into other people's call recorder apps, like their messaging app area, right? So they can see what other people had recorded, calls other people had recorded, which is, considering the people who are probably using an app like this to record calls, there could be some very interesting shit in those phone calls. Kind of like that it's inbuilt in Android, but I never dug into it.
Well, I mean, I think there are reasons to record calls and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you're
right, but if you're using a paid app to record your calls, right, and it like saves them in the cloud for you, you would expect them to at least secure those pretty well, right? Not just make it so that it's kind of trivial for somebody to like change a few parameters in a GET request and pull down your recording instead of theirs.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with that is you should be able to just upload those things to your iCloud or whatever.
Right. They should just upload them to your own cloud storage instead of using theirs. I think that would be a better way to do it. I think some users might buy the app and then complain if they don't have their own cloud storage and then be like, I want a refund, and give them like 1 star. So maybe they're like, hey, you know what? Just we'll use our own. But you should at least secure it is the problem. So if you don't secure things, bad things happen. Spear phishing on the rise. NIM-based malware is spreading. NIM-based malware is so it's NIMSA loader is the full name of it, right? And this is one of those pieces of malware that's pretty much just Cobalt Strike under the hood. I'm really sure Raphael Mudge is really thrilled to death that all these bad guys are using his pen testing tool to do evil, and not even paying them for it either. They're all just using cracked versions. So, yeah.
That's the fun thing about any tool. It can be used for good or evil. It's based upon the hand of the wielder.
That is true. I mean, but to be fair, Cobalt Strike and what's the other program that he wrote that's like a stripped down version of that that's free? Armitage. Both of them are kind of like, you know, C2 for idiots, you know. It's like, oh, you're not really that technical, but you still want all the functionality of the Metasploit framework and a few other things like beacon shells. Well, here you go. It's all GUI based for you because you're an idiot who doesn't really understand computers. You don't need command line. And I mean, what kind of people do you expect are going to use a command line, a GUI based tool to hack a bunch of people, or other than like scammers? Like, I don't see scammers sitting down doing complex command line shit, like trying to find the switches when they're trying to dump LSAS, right? Like trying, like, oh, this is the proper syntax for using Mimikatz or Kiwi. You know, this is how. No, they're just like right clicking and like, hey, give me passwords. You know, it's not the smartest people. It still works. It's just, you know. All right, let's see what Dickie has to say here. Also, any weapon developed will be used by the enemy in about 5 years as well. All right. Well, then we should just make weapons that self-destruct after 5 years. Yeah, this is initial access malware, right? So this is kind of like the first stage of that Mac malware I was talking about before. It's first stage, and then you pull down your other more advanced shit later on. So it's initial access. They're getting through spear phishing campaigns. So they're going after what they're doing, a whaling, you know, spear phishing, all that fun stuff where they target somebody who they want. Yep. That's it. They just target people, you know, like they're like, oh, that's the CEO of the company, or that's the IT guy. That's the person I'm going to target, right? They are doing some stuff where it looks like it is a PDF preview in an email, but it's not really. And when you click it, it asks you to save to preview, but it doesn't really save to preview. It just then takes them to the NIMSA loader executable and then, runs it. Because, yeah. So they do some obfuscation with XOR, XOR, XOR. This is the proper way to say it. I always screw it up. Yep. It's not like the most complicated thing in the world. I mean, it's like some PowerShell code, but it pulls down a Cobalt Strike beacon. I already said that though. Proofpoint has done more research on it, and yada 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 yada. Next, Ninja Forms WordPress plugin opens websites up to attack. WordPress is the dumbest model in the world, and I know a lot of people use it because it's really super easy and like it makes life easier, but it also is a security nightmare. And the more plugins you install, the more likely you are to get pwned. So Ninja Forms is a very commonly used WordPress plugin. It's got more than 1 million people using it, and there's a flaw in it that allows for some serious attack vectors, including account takeover and email hijacking. Right. This is for people who want to make forms on their site and don't even know HTML, right? So it's like drag and drop, no coding skills required, idiot proof, but it will allow a bad guy to take over your email account associated with your WordPress site, authenticating email hijacking and account takeover. Yeah, not good. It got a CVSS score of 9.9 out of 10. That's pretty bad. Like, 9.9 is as close as you can get to 10 without being at 10. So, yeah, there's some OAuth issues as well. Some cross-site request forgery, administrative open redirect. Oof, that's bad. And some other shit. As you know, the WordPress bad. Hey, I know my company uses WordPress. So what are you gonna do? U.S. indicts North Korean hacker for stealing $1.3 billion US. If I got away with stealing $1.3 billion US, I would be in a country that does not have any kind of relationship with the U.S., like maybe North Korea. Probably not actually North Korea, though, because that's not a place I'd want to be. The Department of Justice has charged 3 North Koreans for stealing $1.3 billion in money and crypto in attacks on banks, the entertainment industry, crypto companies, and more, which I'm curious about because from what I understand, there's like 2 computers in North Korea. But the defense are state-sponsored North Korean hackers and members of the Reconnaissance General Bureau, RGB units, a North Korean military intelligence agency. That's a misnomer right there. That has engaged in criminal hacking operations. They use Red Star OS. How much hacking can they do? What else we got here? The U.S. indicted John Chang Hyok and Kim Il and Park Kin Hyok. I know I butchered those. Along with Park, previously indicted for being part of a wide-ranging multi-year conspiracy to conduct computer intrusions and commit wire fraud by co-conspirators working on behalf of the government of the DPRK. In other words, North Korea. Lazarus Group is known for targeting high-profile orgs such as Sony Pictures. Yeah, maybe. All right. Yeah.
They're using, regular operating systems, whether it's Mac OS or Windows or whatever. They have access to all of it. I mean,
I know, but I've seen like write-ups saying that, Delchi's here. Add him to the stream. I've seen write-ups that essentially say, Nathan's here too. It's a party! Welcome to the party, pal!
It's a lemon party.
No!
How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Still ugly as shit. It's not easy.
It's okay. You don't even need to go on camera anymore, so you can be ugly and nobody knows.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna turn my camera on because I want to.
It looks like a ricotta or something.
That Nathan's like, hey, I'm gonna turn my camera on, and then he completely disconnects. His camera saw him and was like, no!
Firewall took over.
The firewall, the OVH firewall too. That's some badass firewall right there.
I've seen the better firewall this week though.
What do you say?
That one over in England.
You mean in France?
Yeah, the data center.
I just fucking said that. You don't listen. Yeah. I said the OVH one. That's the OVH one.
Oh.
Yeah. So he's gone for good now. I didn't kick him; he just disappeared. I wonder if he like knocked his camera over trying to turn it on, or maybe it shattered when it saw his face.
Well, most
You
of
look in the mirror and it cracks.
His whole system committed suicide.
It did. It like Colonel panicked the second his face was displayed. He was like, no.
Yeah, they're USB 2. That's not a. I guess they thought that the A plug would be something great. It never was.
The A plug is just your regular USB connection.
Right. It's A.
So everything still uses the A plug.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about this, right? Like
I thought A was the square one, not the rectangular one.
That's
this is A.
That's the B.
That's a B?
Yeah, A's the original. It's rectangular. It's got like a little notch on one side, but it's mostly square.
Right.
B is the one that's rectangular and flat, the one that most of us know.
The A is the one that's never included with anything you ever buy.
Yeah.
USB port shapes. I'm gonna bring it up and be like, "Hey, share the screen over there," and then we'd be like, "Hey, these are the ones." So that one, that's what you're talking about. That's
yeah,
A.
The one that's the same one was giving me problems and disconnecting my microphone. I had to actually get out of Firefox or the web browser and go back in. And I had to rescan because it.
That's A. See, that's A. That's
Yeah,
what I said was A, and you were like, "No, that's the square one. That's A. This is A. This is C. So that's C. That's C. And this is A. And this is C going into A. Just the fuck.
All right, well then it's a B. I thought it was the A was the
You got a 2.0 B, I bet. And
Yeah,
fucking
that's-
useless one that some shitty hard drives had and some other peripherals like printers. And then we had the 3.0 B, which just confused the fuck out of everybody because it wasn't a true USB 3.0. It was just U 3.0 B. Which,
I got one of those.
yeah, I got one of those for hard drives, which is just crap.
And then I got one that is the flat, goofy one that's for a USB-C.
I've got some phones that have the Mini 5 connector on it, which is the stupidest connector in the world. Because it should just be, they should all just use the 2.0 micro, but for a while they're all using that Mini 5 connector.
Hey, you know what? Y'all are lucky, okay? You shouldn't be complaining. You could be Mac users and have no ports whatsoever.
Oh, look, it's Nathan. He's alive. Oh,
Well,
shit.
You actually have a USB-C.
Hi, Nathan. Oh, I'm going to do this and like get Nathan up there. Oh, no.
Mac is like you get nothing and you're gonna like it and you're gonna pay more for it.
Yeah, or Thunderbolt 3. That's what you get now.
There he is. Look, it's Nathan with a beard. Holy shit, that's quite a beard.
Yep.
I wish I had a beard like that. I tried growing one, but it would not grow.
He's
like-
not on mic though.
I know.
Damn, it's a zigzag man.
I kind of prefer that he can't talk back because this way we can just talk shit about him. Oh, a doggy! A doggo! He's got a doggo. And there's a tent, and it's, I don't know, things are happening here. Oh, he's got, yeah, a 1, a minute. Do you live in this tent? No, there are birds in the tent. This is all very confusing.
Well,
There's a lot of chickens. Are you
that's,
going to eat those chickens?
that's egg farm. That's egg layers.
Oh, so those are not chickens. Those are laying chickens.
Chickens. That reminds me of a story.
Why did across the road? Oh,
why?
more chickens! He's
A
got more
philosophical
chickens.
question.
You got brown. That looks like a brown egg layer chickens. Those are black.
Philosophically
There's a chicken in
speaking,
that beard too. You know, like lift open a beard and like a freaking.
Now he's lagging.
He's lagging a little. I mean, the dude's outside and he's probably on a cell phone connection. Oh, cows or some four-legged animal.
Yep.
Cows, yes.
moo.
Moo.
Yep.
All right, show us where you have the fertilizer bombs. Where are those?
Fertilizer. You know, speaking of farms and farm animals, there's the old philosophical question: why did the pervert cross the road?
Why?
Because his dick was stuck in a chicken.
That's bad. That's so bad. It's bad, and you should feel bad for telling that joke.
Yes, but I never do feel bad for it. I will say that it is bad.
You hear me all right?
Yeah, kind of.
Hey,
So,
it could be worse. It could be a cartoon skunk.
so
you who got canceled.
I don't know if you can see how like there's all these RVs and everything back there. I'm at an undisclosed location, and I came to this RV today, and I came into the RV, and the owner of the RV isn't here right now. But I came in.
It's your RV. That's how this works. Finders keepers. I mean, possession's 9/10 of the law.
Amen.
Came in here, and this guy may or may not have been mining a shit ton of Monero from an RV on the road in the middle of a farm.
Wow. You know, you've got access to this guy's computer. If I were you, I would, plant a little surprise for him later. One that he might
Here
not
to make
find.
friends, not to make trouble.
You can make friends with him and also have access to all the stuff on his computer from your computer.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he's walking right now, so
The sound is limited bandwidth.
Look, limited bandwidth is a real problem, and it's why we need to push net neutrality and reinvest in our infrastructure instead of just taking profits for rich corporate fuckers.
Hey, I'm all for getting a 10 gig fiber in my place. I already got a switch to handle it.
Why can't you just get that Skybird
Oh, it's a
stuff?
girl.
That,
Show
what's
the
his
girl.
nuts has got up there?
Hi, girl. She seems upset about something. No, happy about something. I think she's happy about your beard.
Oh, generally speaking, they are happy about beards.
Yeah. Oh, there's a dude too in red. Hi, dude in red. Am I seeing your nipple right now? What is this? What kind of shirt are you wearing?
No, it's a little chilly, it looks like, or something there.
No, it's a very interesting shirt. I'm not sure if he got like a swirl going and that's his chest there, or if that's his shirt. Oh, there. Oh, there's the dude in red. Hi, guy in red. You're on the internet. The internet says hi.
Yep.
On the internet, nobody knows you're down on the farm.
Exactly. Watch as
So
we
where's
live
Mr.
stream
Hands?
your secret location.
I was just wondering when that was going to get brought up. You have an obsession with that. One might say an unhealthy obsession.
I am not an obsession with it. You're the one who said you were just about to bring it up.
Bring it up.
No, I said I wondered when you were going to bring that up.
Yep, he's back inside. Now he's got.
What's going on? What's going on, gentlemen?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. Where are you at?
I think I'm pretty sure I'm in Texas.
That's good.
Right. So I told you guys that I'm doing that blockchain week next month in Texas, and as you guys know, I always advocate very hardcore for InfoSec involvement in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space.
Mm-hmm.
So if any of you are in Texas, please, by all means, come out, present, educate, teach these people something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Be like, hey guys, I can make 50 cents a day per computer mining Monero. So if I had a botnet, it was 1,000 computers, I could make.
Well, no, the beauty is this thing isn't even gone.
$50 a day per computer. So that would be per the whole botnet, $50 a day.
No, also keep in mind this guy's running a generator to run the computer, meaning that he's losing quite a bit of money by just burning fuel.
Right. And also he's stepping up and then stepping back down. So he's losing a shit ton of power. And if you were running everything off of a 12-volt system, which you could probably run his laptop off of 12 volts direct, he could make his battery last a lot longer.
Well, he's going to need a lot more than 12 volts to run all these LEDs. There's a lot of LEDs in here. It's like a 60 cubic foot DEF CON badge.
Wow.
It's just not on. It's just not on right now.
Yeah. when I build off grid shit, I tend to try and keep the whole system at 12 volts, and then I'll just have an inverter for the one or two things that need to be stepped up to AC. I try and keep everything at 12 volt DC.
Well, if you've got a decent generator, you should have both outputs.
You
have a little inverter output and a 12 volt.
You listen to me, because you can have both outputs right in the generator, but you're losing a shit ton of power.
Well, not as much as if you did it in line. Like you go down and buy a generator, then a inverter.
Right.
And, all the other shit. If it's built into it, you reduce the loss.
Anyway, I digress. None of us are solar.
Oh, solar. Yeah.
We're out the fairgrounds, I guess you could call it. But no, this is a very interesting plot of land down in Texas that it's a farm, clearly, but it's got a stage here that is reserved exclusively for security, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and aerospace. Right. So it's assume what you will.
Well, they say assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. And when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So I'm not going to make any assumptions.
My mother is the mother of all fuck-ups, so get that right out of your head right now. Correct yourself.
Okay. I didn't want to talk shit about your mother, though, because that's not nice.
She's a nice lady. Her son's an asshole.
I mean, especially after she's been so nice to all of us. You know? Oh, sorry.
Now you're starting to sound like me.
Middle school. We're going back to middle school jokes. Right. What else we got here? So you're out on a farm in Texas right now. And they have power, which is good. Because some Texas doesn't have power right now.
No, most Texas has power.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been like 3 weeks since that event. I mean, a lot of places. I mean, some places were without power like a week after, but 2 weeks at most was what took for times that stuff for tour. That restore, God, I can't speak.
Yeah, Nathan is actually younger and like more virile than I expected. I thought he was gonna be like an old fart with gray hair, but he's like a young fart with a big beard,
which is mostly gray. Yeah, no, I'm 41, pretty sure.
That's not that old, especially since I'm going to be 47.
Yeah, there's lots of little kids here, too.
Yep. Oh, cool.
So, we're out here. It's about 110 acres. It's a little over 110 acres. It's a bunch of heads of cattle. Like you guys saw, there's a whole bunch of chickens and fowl and stuff like that. And then maybe a peek of the stage. I'm getting closer to it now, so you're probably gonna hear up audio. But hold on.
And a horse. There's got to be a horse somewhere.
A horse, of course. Oh, somebody's USB device is connecting.
Well, it's Texas, so you're gonna find a horse out there somewhere.
Horses are kind of costly to upkeep.
Yeah, but if you're out in the country, though, you're pretty likely gonna find one. I mean, hell, I live in the city, and you'll find them around here.
Uh-oh.
Whoop! We got something happening. I think your event needs more bandwidth, Nathan.
What is this? Little stage show or barbecue or what?
I think they're gonna be talking about crypto on a place in the farm in Texas.
All right. Well, you got the crypto news about the what Ethermine was trying to shut down. What was it? Phoenix Miner.
Yeah. So what happened there is Phoenix Miner I didn't put it in the show notes, but we can talk about that.
Well, I mean, I sent a link. Okay, so
why didn't you put it in the show notes?
Well, I mean, I don't have edit access to the show notes. I just posted.
Yes, you do.
Do I? Oh.
Yes.
Well, darn.
Anyway.
So
why don't you explain the whole thing?
So basically, Ethermine comes out and says everybody got to uninstall Phoenix Miner, and they evidently there's an adaptation for Ethermine, because Ethermine it basically rents your computer and pays you in Bitcoin. And so they must have tried to do a mod or something, and they came out with a version D, and it started crapping out people's computers. And it also got flagged as a malware on Mega Upload, and so they removed it. And so the guys at Phoenix Miner just didn't try to do a mod or something. And then there was a bunch of drama and exchange. From Ethermine is basically wanting Phoenix Miner to do some stuff and identify themselves, and they basically want Phoenix Miner to give up their code, and they're doing some backhanded crap.
Right.
And
I mean, if you're renting out your computer, I mean, you should kind of expect bad things to happen.
Well, according to sources, Ethermine was founded by former hackers who would do that stuff, illegally, and then I guess they use their crypto mining back-end code to actually help people make money, but they're not being ethical. And Phoenix Miner it doesn't keep people's crypto or anything like that. They do charge a tiny little bit of a developer fee on top of the Phoenix Miner, but that's it. And they haven't done anything wrong. Ethermine has lost people's money.
That's not good.
But if you saw the exchange, there was some backhanded comments from Ethermine, and of course, one of the crypto or the Phoenix Miner developers had to respond to that. But you can run Phoenix Miner 5.5C, you'll be fine. You might want to reconsider Ethermine though, because sooner or later they're going to wind up screwing you somewhere. It's an attractive service because you can mine Ethereum and get paid in Bitcoin. But Phoenix Miner has superior mining capabilities. You can tune the power lower and get better hash rates, especially on AMD GPUs like the 6000 series, which not a lot of crypto miners have a way to optimize those yet.
Okay.
And I think there's one more thing. Yeah, I think either there or another outfit is actually going to take advantage finally of the RDNA 2 from AMD. And but it has to be done in Linux. You can't. No, it has to be done on an AMD motherboard.
Why AMD?
Because the drivers will not support an Intel motherboard for crypto mining and getting the extra.
That is strange because usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, well, it's actually something AMD is doing. They want to run their crypto mining on their own stuff, I guess. I mean, I have a 3600 that is the crypto miner, so it runs both AMD and NVIDIA. That's what supposedly, but I think that it may have been a sabotage. There's really some high drama and sneakiness going on with Ethermine. Or not Ethermine, NiceHash, excuse me, not Ethermine, NiceHash. I've been bashing Ethermine for NiceHash.
Somebody was going to do that.
He said sabotage, so I had to put the Beastie Boys on. I think it's a rule.
You had to. I mean, it's a rule. It is a rule.
Yeah, so it's NiceHash, not Ethermine. Ethermine's good. NiceHash bad. In this situation.
Yep. What else do we got? We got some more crap in show notes.
I was up at 5:30 this morning fighting iSCSI. So.
I hate iSCSI. I thought that was a thing of the past.
Nope.
definitely isn't.
It should be.
In some situations, it outperforms SMB, and for VMware, it really is when you get it up and nice and tweaked, and the masking done, and everything is great.
I mean, I use iSCSI virtual drives. That's not the same thing, like in VMware. Anyway.
No, I'm connecting to SANs.
Yeah, you should be, but it should be a fast SAN.
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it's fairly. I mean, it's only 10 gig pipes, but it's still 10 gig pipes, and it's multipathing, and that was getting the mutual chaps and all that other junk going, and there you got to kind of slap it around a little bit so that they start authenticating properly, and make sure the masks are correct so that it can't be seen anywhere and all this other junk. And of course, it can't be seen because it's on separate pipes and trunks and everything else too. So,
did you know that the internet is a series of pipes?
Sure it is. That's what electricity can be too.
All right. That was a series of tubes joke, but I changed it to pipes for reasons. Next, we've got White House says 100 private sector orgs hit in SolarWinds campaign. So the White House is obviously smoking some crack because it's hundreds of thousands. But they're like, there are 100 freaking companies that are hit. No, it's way more than 100 companies. It's a lot of. It's like every government agency plus a whole bunch of Fortune 400 out of the 500 Fortune 500, and like a bunch of compute. It's like not 100 companies. They're like that's like saying there's one ant in the entire anthill, not like thousands of ants. It's woefully inadequate estimate. But that's what they said.
Well, that's how the SolarWinds hack worked. I mean, you get them. So many people use their software. The only thing I use is a what do you call it? A little tiny little utility that. And that's it. I mean, a free tool. And maybe I might use their TFTP tool too. That's it. And they don't run all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower, he had actually tweeted a list of a bunch of the companies that were affected by that hadn't publicly disclosed that they got affected by it yet. And I'm trying to find it so I can put it up on the screen.
Well, it's like a whole daisy chain of stuff. I mean, once especially if you put your malware inside the actual, development, so it gets pushed out as an update to, all your customers. I mean, yeah, way to go. Yeah.
I mean, when your update mechanism gets hacked, you're screwed. It's like game over, man.
Yeah.
But don't forget, it was the intern's fault.
It's always the intern's fault. The intern obviously was the one who picked the SolarWinds 123 password for the FTP site. It's all their fault.
Well, I think you mentioned Verkada before, and I guess I'm glad. Well, we were going to buy those cameras, and something else came up, and LED lighting beat out the camera project, and the salespeople for Verkada were really pissed at us because we were almost ready to sign a deal. But then again, I'm glad because
they use the same creds on every camera on every network.
I mean. No, what Verkada had was they had a flash on all these cameras, and they were all V.265. They're really good compression, and so they would keep a smaller footprint on your network.
They use H.265.
Yeah, H.265, the codec, and. You could. I mean, they had cameras that you could store like 4 months of high definition data on just one camera. I mean, just you could do quite a bit with it. But it was also it dumped it in the cloud, which I hated because I like I like hybrids.
Hybrids?
I would like to record to local NVRs and back them up to another storage system, and being able to access them from the cloud.
I usually for me, I don't have any complicated shit. If I need surveillance, I'll just throw up a couple of pies with cameras on them, and I'll put like one of those projects on there that just forwards all the H.265 streams to the same IP. Yeah. And you can go there and look at them.
Yeah, well, this is doing they had like motion sensing and low light and all this other fun stuff, and we were looking at getting like 45 to 48 cameras. That's a lot of cameras.
That is a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
So I do know Zach tweeted this at some point, but I can't find it.
But the thing is that we didn't do it, and so that didn't get in the budget. And then one of their salespeople was just really snooty with us about it.
Oh, I found it. I put it on the screen.
And so I said, well, we can just find other cameras that'll do the same thing for cheaper. But yeah, I was able to log into the Verkada headquarters and view the cameras that had the street view. So I think it was probably somebody in sales who left that back door open.
Yep.
Ding, ding, ding. So there is your punchline. It was sales that did it.
Always sales.
And I think they also Verkada's got bought by somebody too.
Right. So this is the list here. Paste bin link here. And it shows a whole bunch of these domains that are, I think these are like the internal domain names. And this is like the actual C2 domain, and this is like it decoded. So it's like using some kind of encryption here. Not encryption, but obfuscation. And like this is it decoded. So like this bop.com.pk and like all these other places. But there's like some .govs on here. And so this is just some of them. This is just like through passive DNS what they're able to see. This is like maybe a tenth at most of the things that are like a lot more than 100 just on this list alone. Like this list alone.
WWN names or whatever they call them.
We got corp.stratusnet, right? We got all these .govs and like all these other fancy ass places that are like there's from Fortune 500s in this list, and this is just one. Like this is not all of them, It's a small subset of the available ones, and
it looks like it's
1,088 of them in this list alone, right?
And so
they're saying 100 were hacked. Yeah, right.
Well, that's a lot of hosts that are. That's a data center that was with a bunch of hosts that were pwned, basically. I mean, yeah.
So what this is, right? This AVMS cloud. This is the C2 domain, right? So what they're doing is kind of the same thing that like Alien Vault does with their what do they call it? Alien Vault, USM, not USM. OTX. That's it. You go like the OTX, right? And you go and you take a look at some domain like Irongeek, right? And it goes passive DNS down here, and it shows all the name servers associated with it and all that shit. So the passive DNS is going to pick up, like when people just go to that site through, like they access it through Google or whatever. If they're using Google's name servers, it's going to get cached somewhere, and these sites get like access to that. So they're able to see like all the C2 domains and enumerate subdomains on the main domain without actually knowing what they are. Like it's not like they're brute forcing and figuring them out. It's recorded somewhere when people go there, and when they do the DNS query, and they're essentially cached, like they decoded the C2 domains is what it says.
Okay.
Where was that site again?
This?
No, the one you were just on a second ago.
This one?
Yeah.
that is OTX by Alien Ball. It's a threat intel platform. So you can go and like take a look at stuff like this, like Irongeek, and like, you know, you can see all that shit. And it's fun. It's a good site to use if you're doing threat intel. You also look at URLs that are associated with it, right? You see what places people went to on the website, right? It's useful if you're doing like threat hunting.
So where are they getting the data from? For a log somewhere.
I don't know where the fuck they get their data from. I'm just pointing out they have the data.
Okay.
Like, you know, I don't know everything. I know some things. Anyway, so that's that. Decoded C2 domains. Posted by Mr. Zach Voorhees, perpetual maniac, Google whistleblower guy. Anyway, that's that. All right. And I go back to my show notes. Maybe they're around somewhere.
I think there's something about a jailbreak or something.
Yeah. I'm just going to type in show notes and hopefully, there we go. That'll work. I have a bad habit of closing the tab I'm actually using and then like losing it. Next we have a new Uncover tool can jailbreak all iPhones running iOS 11 through 14.3. That's a lot of iPhones. So this is a popular iOS jailbreaking tool. It's been around for a while. It's now been updated and it supports up to iOS 14.3. It means you can jailbreak a lot of the newer phones that you couldn't jailbreak previously. The thing is with iOS jailbreaks, they're few and far between because Apple pays really good for their bug bounty shit. And so if you have the choice between getting a lot of money from Apple or releasing some code that can jailbreak some phones, most people are going to be like, just take the money from Apple. But luckily, this is taking advantage of CVE 2021-1782. This is a privilege escalation vulnerability in the kernel stemming from a race condition that causes a malicious application to elevate its privileges. There's an optimal exploit speed and stability. Why would you want to jailbreak your iOS device? I don't know. Maybe you want to run Parler on it. Just thinking. Maybe you want to run an alternative app store. I think they have one that used to be pretty popular, whose name now escapes me because I don't use Apple devices anymore. But they do have an app store that's specifically for jailbroken phones. Maybe you want to do PCAPs, right? You want to do all sorts of fun shit on your iPhone that you can't do if it's locked down.
Yeah, you can't sideload apps on an iPhone. You can do that with Google phones.
You can if they're jailbroken.
Yeah.
If they're not just jailbroken, but jailbroken and rooted. So if you have root, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You don't need to install shit from their app store. You can just drop to a shell and install it, I know Android jailbreaking and stuff, but I don't really know too much about Apple. But this is cool nonetheless, right? So if you've got an iOS device and you want to screw around under the hood and possibly not have your banking apps work anymore, feel free to play with that. A $50,000 bug could have allowed hackers access into any Microsoft account. This is a good one. This is a brute force attack that's pretty clever here. You know when you do like a password reset and then it's like, hey, we sent a code to your phone. Enter that code and then you can reset your password. The guy figured out a way to brute force that 7-digit code. Because like off the bat, you try a few and you get them wrong and they just block you, right? But he figured out you could just do it in a distributed way if you have access to a bunch of different IPs and maybe using Burp Suite, right? Where you can maybe chain it through a whole bunch of proxy servers and try freaking every code very, very quickly. And yep. Well, thank you, Dickie.
So they don't do any kind of locking based upon they only lock out an IP. They don't lock the account if it's
correct.
Wow, that's bad design.
Exactly. And that's why this person got paid for their contribution. They got $30,000 from the bug bounty program for letting them know about this. Essentially,
I hope they took it from some engineer because yeah, that engineer does deserve that money. That's bad. That's really bad design.
I mean, it literally means you would have access to pretty much anybody's Google account that you want, assuming they didn't use the Authenticator app, right? Or it might work with the Authenticator app too, but you'd have to do it all within a minute, which would be a lot harder to brute force. Oh, it says that even if you've got two-factor enabled, it would work. Okay. So I guess it doesn't care if you've got two-factor if you're doing a password reset, which is also a stupid design. Interesting. Yeah, so he's just using Burp. You can recognize it if you look at the screenshot. That's obviously Burp Suite. That's the, Intercept is on. That's so, yeah. So he figured out that he could add a few millisecond delay between the requests and allow the server to detect the attack and block it. So he got around the rate limiting constraint, and then was able to hijack accounts. Clever. Okay, that's a lot of power, man. $50,000 seems a little low for the ability to get into fucking anybody's account, right? Imagine he used that access to get into, say, Elon Musk's account and then tweeted buy random crypto coin no one's ever heard of, and you already have a whole bunch of that crypto coin, and then you just pump and dump it and make a shit ton of money. And it's just one thing I can think of off the top of my freaking head to make money if you have access to anybody's fucking account.
Well, Elon Musk has already tweeted out buy Dogecoin. So,
right. So that's why I picked that, because people listened to him and then Doge went to the moon.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing about Doge is
McAfee was doing the same shit years ago, pumping and dumping that. And now they're trying to indict him for it. And his justification is saying, look, Elon's doing the same fucking thing. I'll be right back.
Well, they used to give 2,000 away at a time of Doge. I mean, you for free, they just drop it on you. You could just click on something and say, "Oh, Doge." I mean, now it has some value. You're not going to get airdropped a bunch for free now, but there was a time. There was actually a time where you could get free Bitcoins too. I mean, that was way back 2011, 2012.
Yeah, I remember seeing there was a gaming convention where I think it was like 5th or 6th prize was like 10 Bitcoin. And it's like, yeah.
I saw it. That was a few casts ago. We showed that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember I saw it, but I was like, oh shit, like, oof. That does not age well.
$100 or 2 Bitcoin. I'll take the 2 Bitcoin, please. It's like 5th place is 2 Bitcoin, and 1st place is $100. No. So yeah, the Uncover tool can jailbreak iPhones, and we were talking about hacking Elon's freaking Twitter because that already did happen, and it's not like some random shit. So somebody did hack his and a bunch of other people's accounts a while ago. Some teenager from Florida, and that kid, he had a trial himself, and the judge was going to be lenient on him until a bunch of people Zoom bombed the freaking trial. And then the judge got really pissed off, and he was not very lenient with it. So, the internet's a strange place. So's the world. So, Dickie, I agree with you. Look, mining on its face doesn't seem that good. Some people, if they've got a decent rig and like a graphics card, they can make a few bucks every day, right? I think Nathan a while back was talking about how he was making I think upwards of $25 a day on one of his rigs. That's just using GPU. But think about scaling it, all right? So those people we were just talking about before who had that app where you could buy people's computing time. If you could mine on a whole bunch of people's computers.
Nice, yeah.
and you scale that, even if you're just making 50 cents a day per computer, right? Before you know it, you've got some really good income that's not really requiring you to do much. You don't have to make a lot per computer if you've got a lot of computers. I'm just saying. I'm not encouraging anybody to go make a freaking botnet and, you know, mine crypto on it, but they do that already. If you work in like a SOC, you're eventually going to come across somebody's compromised Linux machine that's running XMRig and mining XMR. You know, it's going to happen sooner or later. So it is a thing that happens out there. It's just, you know, it's a scale. It's like, yeah, you're not making a lot of money just mining on your own computer. That hasn't been the case for many, many years since we were like at the very beginning of the blockchain for Bitcoin. Back then, if you just had a decent computer and you had like an okay graphics card, you could make a lot of money.
Yep.
Now
Well,
you want to make money.
There is more crypto news. The reason I brought up Ethermine before, okay, there's the Ethereum developers are wanting to implement what's called EIP 1559, which means Ethereum Improvement Project or whatever. And what it would do is, because the transaction fees, they call them the gas fees, are so high now, they're getting a lot of complaints about it, and so what they're gonna try to do is burn Ethereum instead of paying the miners for it. So when they choose to implement this, which the plan is in July, the GPU miners, ASIC miners are going to receive a 30% drop in revenue.
Wow.
Now, so there is actually a show of force protests that is, people are saying, everybody switched to this one mining pool called Ethermine, which is one I use. It's a good one. And on April 1st, and see, what they're going to try to do is get the hash rate up to where it's 40% of the entire Ethereum blockchain pool, entire blockchain. So, and the developer said, if you can consolidate 40% of the Ethereum chain, might reconsider all this stuff, because there is such a thing called a 51% attack, and it's actually probably about 50 plus whatever. It's probably a 50.5% attack. And once you have that much control, you can alter the blockchain.
Wow. What can you do with that kind of power on the blockchain?
Well, you can take other people's, you can fork the entire chain, and you can take away people's coins.
Wow.
And let me throw a side note on it. Right now, it is estimated that China is mining 60% of all Bitcoin, and they also are manufacturing 100% of all ASIC miners, which are required to mine Bitcoin now. You can't really do it on a computer system efficiently. And the reason they're mining so much, I mean, they build these ASIC miners. They're not really that high tech, like compared to a GPU or even a CPU for that matter. They just put a lot of them, and they're basically designed to do the
very same kind of math over and over again.
That's it. And so they use a lot of power when they do that. So your typical ASIC miner for Bitcoin is about over 3,000 watts. But Ethereum can be done with GPUs, and they're also ASIC miners. And so there's kind of I think China wants to take over the Ethereum blockchain also. And
which one, the classic or the new one?
Well, Classic, it was I think somebody hit them with a 51%. Something happened. There was a bug or something, and so they forked it. And people said on one fork said we're going to keep doing the Classic. Then they have what's called Proof of Stake, which is Ethereum 2.0. And what people suspect is they really want to force everything into Proof of Stake, which means no more proof of work mining. It's just you get paid fees. And the thing is the what the Ethereum developers decided to do was they'd give you, like, if you had so many Ethereum, they would give you 50% more. Okay, so I think if you had like 100, they might give you 50 Ethereum coins, something like that. But the rule was until Proof of Stake was fully implemented, they could not exit they couldn't trade their coins out. I think they might be able to sell them, but you could not leave the Proof of Stake. They were staked, meaning they can't move. And so the thing is if you have volatility, like Ethereum drops like 35%. Well, if you drop 30%, you just lost your 50% gain in coins, and you can't even sell them, or you can't get rid of them and trade them out for another digital currency. So that's Ethereum does have a vulnerability with a 51%.
Right. So in a similar vein, the Tor network, at one point, a whole bunch of guys got together and bought a whole bunch of exit nodes and connected them to the Tor network. Essentially, they just bought servers and they installed Tor on them and then made them into exit nodes, right?
But you mean the feds?
No, they weren't the feds at the time, but the feds are probably doing it now. In fact, I mean, it started off with the feds. I mean, it was a Navy project, but still. They bought all these freaking servers and they made them exit nodes, and then they started doing man-in-the-middle proxy and redirects when people would go and use the sites that you can use to do Bitcoin tumbling. So you would put in one address, be like, hey, I want to send my Bitcoin to my other wallet and I want to like launder it, right? And they would intercept that in real time and just change the wallet address it was being sent to one of theirs. So people would just get pissed at the Tumblr site thinking that they stole their Bitcoin, when in reality it was the guys running the exit node, which was pretty freaking clever. I know I've talked about it before, but it is one of my favorite new attacks I've seen. It's like not something you would typically think of happening. Also, ASIC stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit.
Right.
And I have read some cool articles about ASICs for other purposes, such as training AI to recognize specific sounds and being able to tell when other sounds are different by programming ASIC chips that essentially reprogram themselves over time and like get a little smarter. It's like not real AI, it's more machine learning, but it's still really cool.
Well, ASICs are pretty much static. You might be talking about FGPAs.
FPGA, field programmable, whatever's.
FPGA, yeah.
No, so it was like, it was a weird combination of two things where they were essentially using like a what's it called? The thing that you use to program an Arduino when it doesn't have when it only has headers, like that thing. They were combining that with an ASIC so that the ASIC's firmware could be rewritten like every iteration when it learned things. It was like kind of making your own FPGA with cheaper off-the-shelf shit.
Okay.
It was cool though. I really did. I have to find that article. It was cool shit.
Well, I honestly think if, say, Intel decides they want to create an FPGA specific mining processor or processors, that would be a hit, because you wouldn't have it wouldn't be junk because it wasn't fast enough. When the cost to mine a coin keeps going up, you could actually reroute it to another altcoin and still make money on it. Because ASIC miners,
it looks like people are using FPGAs to do mining. I just found a website about it.
Yeah, but it's not something. I mean, you got AMD and NVIDIA running 7 nanometer and pretty soon 5 nanometer processors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're more power efficient and everything else. That's why.
This site says that you can make $13 a day using an FPGA mining crypto.
Right, but how much does that FPGA? I mean, you can do that with a
graphics card, yeah.
With an NVIDIA 3090 GPU. Okay.
You can even do it with a 1080. You don't need like the best card.
Not $13 a day though. It's more like about $3 a day with a 1080. You can go to
what the I never got, right? When you're trying to crack passwords using multiple video cards, if you put the bridge on them, it slows the whole operation down like a shit ton. But it's better for gaming. But if you take that little PC, that little bridge between the two cards off, it's so much faster when you're mining. And I don't quite understand why that is.
Well, they actually AMD is doing that on the system boards now. So you don't have to have those little bridges anymore.
That's cool.
But I think that's you could. I don't even think you need those bridges anymore, because unless you're running like 8K, 3D stuff. I mean, because that's to push the video across the cards.
Mm-hmm.
But not for.
Well, look, so an NVIDIA 1080 would get about 100 megahash per second. But
a 1080, yeah, you could get about 100 megahash. That's about $12 a day or something.
Right. But a Tribus PCA 1525 field programmable, whatever GA stands for, gets 1.7 gigahash.
Okay.
And it also uses less power.
Okay. And how much does that thing cost?
I have no fucking idea. There's another one called the F1 Black Miner FPGA that gets 2.8 gigahash, but that thing uses 3 times as much power.
All right. Okay. So, all right. Yeah. So your 3090 GPU is going to run about 300 to 350 watts of power, and you actually, the idea is to tune the power down and increase the memory clock.
Yeah. So a black miner only costs $179. I mean, the thing's going to be eating 600 watts. That's a lot of power. But for $150, you could make money on that. Like it's $12 a day, they say. So figure you're making 13.
So yeah. So how you
it would pay for itself after like a month or two.
Right. Can you buy one?
I don't know. I haven't tried. I literally just found this out. Google. I searched for it on DuckDuckGo because I've now been using that instead of Google. Zach has made me paranoid about Google. And now my phone just answered when I said Google, which is also creepy.
Oh, you don't want me to do it. You don't want me to say that again, do you?
Don't do it.
I use DuckDuckGo most of the time.
So they're shipping these out at the end of March, and you can buy one. They're sold out. But I mean,
this is from YouTube.
You fucker, Google, stop listening to me. I'm gonna turn you off. I'm gonna turn you fucking off.
Okay, Google, Brazilian cake frog
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I guess.
Shut up, Google. All right. So yeah, they're like $180. That's not bad at all for something that can make you $16 a day, $13 a day. So what would that be in math? I'm not good at math, but say so it's $180, right? And say each and divided by days. So say $13 a day. How many days is that going to be? You could
It'd take you about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
About 2 weeks to pay itself.
It
Yeah.
would take you about 14 days to pay that off if you were doing
Assuming your power is free, right? Because it is 600 watts, so that's a lot.
So the typical residential rate for power is about 10 cents a kilowatt hour.
No, it's higher than that. We're a little special in Texas. We get some pretty low power compared to the rest of the country.
There's that data center out in Europe somewhere that it's in like Russia, not actually Russia, but like one of those former USSR countries, but they got a hydropower, and they a lot of people who do crypto use that place because the power is essentially free at the data center. And
they're doing it in Mongolia.
Yeah.
Well, the Chinese don't want them to do it in Mongolia, but
I think I'm gonna buy a few of these. That's be a good investment if I can find a place that sells them.
Yeah, well, be careful because some of these websites that are selling this crap are, if they only accept crypto as a payment, forget it. I mean, if you can go through a regular pay vendor like PayPal,
that way you're kind of covered if they fuck you over. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, somebody's selling them on eBay. I could buy them there. They're actually jacked up in price by a lot on eBay, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, your GPU miner. They're saying if the GPU you buy takes longer than 90 or 100 days to get a return on investment, then don't buy it. It's too expensive for GPU mining. Okay.
Yeah, so Dickie, I've been thinking about that for a while. Say you got a bunch of FPGAs, or a bunch of ASICs, and you could power. They make ASICs that run. They look just like thumb drives. They run on USB power. They're like little 5-volt suckers. They're not super powerful, but they work. Put like 4 of them in a Raspberry Pi on all 4 USB ports, and power that Raspberry Pi off some batteries that are attached to some solar cells. I think that'd be fucking awesome. If you could actually get that working, I would just try and scale that ad infinitum and just keep making money off the sun. That would be so badass if you could make that happen.
Well, I don't think those. Well, individually, I don't think those would do enough. Don't have enough hash power to recoup your money. You'd be running a negative on power with the USB powered ones. It's just they're gimmicks. I mean, you have to be able to get a return over the power consumed, and it's supposed to be much more than what it costs you in power. And so that's the thing is, I mean, if you're breaking, if for example, if you're making $30 a day, but your power is costing you $20 a day, that's not good. You're only making $10. Well, you're making $10. You're making $10 a day, but you're using $20 a day in power. So it should be reversed. You should be, spending $10 or less a day and making that $20.
Yeah,
clear.
So when I Google this specific miner, everyone wants a shit ton of money for it, but the very first website that I went to, as well as on eBay, I found it for like $180. And when I Google it, like I go to the shopping tab on Google, people want like $1,800 for one.
$1,800. That's not too bad. I mean, but all right. So how many? If you can get 30, if you can get $30 a day out of it, what is it? $1,800, and you're bringing in 30. It's simple division,
But if it were $180 instead of $1,800,
so it'd take you 60 days to pay that off,
as opposed to 2 weeks, which would be much better if it were $180 and you were making $13 a day.
Right. But
I would buy like 10 of them if that were the case. And you
got to realize that the only thing there's not an ASIC miner that eats about well, I think they make Silicon makes an Ethereum hash miner that can bring it only uses about 800 or 900 watts, but it's a monster. But the thing is going to cost you $28,000. It's not, yeah. I mean, they're so back ordered. They're made exclusively in China, and the Chinese use them for several months before you pre-order it. So you're paying them to build it, mine on it, and then give it.
And then they give it to you once it's a little used.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they're testing it for you.
And
they're not eating away at its lifespan.
And the warranty, unless you're a really big customer, it's like trying to get tech support on it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, don't ever trust the Chinese to keep their word, even with a good contract, because they'll just go out of business. They'll just close business down and move on something else, and you're screwed.
Well, so getting back, so the Ethereum is about to go through some chaos. I mean, it's kind of like you heard about Ripple, which was XRP. That because the SEC sued them, I think they won the first round on that. XRP may, be the next, value in crypto coin. But mining, I don't know if you can mine XRP. I think it's a proof of stake coin. Or
XRP? You can mine XRP. I mean, it's not worth shit right now because of the whole thing with the deregulation, the Wall Street nonsense that's going on with it, whatever the fuck that is. It's like they're being like XRP is they've got some issues with the SEC, I believe, and they're holding up the ability for people to use it.
They won the lawsuit. The judge ruled in XRP Ripple's favor on that.
So I actually had a bunch of that, and I couldn't get it off of my my exchange, Coinbase. I had to transfer it to another wallet. So I was Googling around. I found a place that claimed that they would take it and they just like give you the PayPal equivalent of money for it. And I didn't do enough research because I'm a dumb fuck. And I sent them my coin, and it turned out it was a scam site. And I felt like such an ass monkey. I was like, how could I be so stupid? I do this for a living, and I didn't do my fucking research, and now I'm out like $400.
No, there's a lot of YouTube videos. They will tell you where to go to actually exchange your XRP or your the other coins.
I should have come to you and been like, hey man, I got $400 in XRP. You want to give me some hints on how I can get it into money?
You can.
I don't have it anymore, so it's not useful.
Well,
useful
because, you would find a what's called a DeFi, okay, a place where you would stake your coins, and they would pay you interest on it, and they use the DeFi to help facilitate transactions, exchanges. So in other words, it's kind of like a bank. You put your money in the bank, and then they can lend your money out that you have a deposit on, and that's kind of that way. And then they're paid fees, but it's less than your standard Ethereum transaction fees or other exchange fees. And then you get paid interest as long as you keep it in there. And of course, when you transfer it out, you have to pay a fee.
Gotcha. It's kind of like my savings account when I transfer stuff to my checking account if I use it too much. All right. So we are pretty much done with show notes at this point. There's only one or two more things in there. So let me just cover those real quick, and then we can wrap up this cast, and I can go and play Last of Us with the Atheists for Liberty tonight, which should be fun. The last thing that we've got is Ursnif Trojan has targeted over 100 Italian banks. And we're going to show that. All right. So 1,700 credentials were stolen from a single payment processor. The Ursnif Trojan has been traced back to attacks against at least 100 banks in Italy. According to Avast, the malware's operators have a keen interest in Italian targets, and attacks against these banking institutions have led to a loss of credentials and financial data. At least 100 banks have been targeted based on information gathered by researchers, and researchers are very conservative in their estimates usually. In one case alone, an unnamed payment processor had 1,700 sets of credentials stolen. Avast found usernames, passwords, credit cards, banking information, payment information that all appears to be harvested by this malware. The information stealer's code was leaked onto GitHub and has since evolved and has become a more sophisticated piece of code being developed independently by people operating the Ganzi banking malware. It was usually spread via phishing emails, such as a fake invoice request, right? Like you get a PDF file, you open it up, and it targets your vulnerable version of Adobe that hasn't been patched in forever because nobody does patch management right, and local users don't have admin rights, so they can't update programs. And it attempts to steal financial data and account credentials. Researchers have documented a 2020 campaign which used the same malware and attack against a U.S. bank. In this case, a phishing email was sent to an employee. They opened it, and there was an attachment. They downloaded an executable pretending to be a .cab extension. Don't know why anybody would open a .cab extension in an email, because, I mean, that's like a freaking format that's used for Windows shit. It's like a zip file, but for install shit, I think. I don't know. I haven't come across a cab file in a while. I don't know why you'd open one if it was in your email, though. So it reached out to the C2 server, which was in Russia. And IPs were not blacklisted at the time of infection. They used obfuscation. They used user agents that looked like Zoom. That way, if people were watching across the wire, they would think it was just Zoom and WebEx traffic. So essentially, hiding in plain sight, which is a good method to stay out of trouble for a while. They tricked them. Dark Traces also tracked the malware in attacks against organizations in the U.S. And Italy. Avast has shared some findings with victims of this attack. They were able to identify, along with CertF in Italy, financial services data exchange managed by the Bank of Italy and the Italian Banking Association. So that's it. That's the cast, man. That's all we got. We've gone through all the show notes, and we had Nathan walk through that farm area. Tell us about that. I don't think we have anything else worth these people's time. I mean, these people, your time is very valuable, and you've spent an hour and 47 minutes of it with us, and we greatly appreciate that.
All right.
But I think it's time for everyone to go.
All right. Well, it's I get to get CPEs, I guess.
For an hour and 47 minutes. If you want, we could leave the stream on for another 13 minutes, and you just claim 2 hours.
I can do that probably anyway. It's close enough, but
Yeah.
I mean, I was on a little bit before. Well, no, I was a little late today. That's right. It doesn't matter.
I need to actually start tracking my CVEs. I want to renew my certs. I don't do it. I know I'm supposed to. Like, I go to shit all the time. Like, I go to conferences that I can use for this all the time online, and I never ever remember to submit them on the portal. And I need to start doing that.
If you go, all right, so I got to get about 40 a year, okay? But I go to a few conferences, and
I think I need like 200 hours for one of my certs. Yeah, it's fine. Anyway, thank you all for joining us today. We love you all. Stay out of trouble. Be good. Don't start your own botnet. It's a bad thing to do. No. Don't do that. We joke about it because we're security guys and we think it's funny, but we would not actually do that. At least I wouldn't. I don't know about you. But that's it, guys. Take care. Have a great night.
All right. Have a good one.
Later.